As we look to the hope and the hype of the future of Kingdom Hearts, we must look to the past to remember why we all fell in love with the series in the first place.
Welcome to HMK and the memories of Kingdom Hearts.
Within the explosive advent of Kingdom Hearts 2's release, many gamers many years ago wondered what would be the future of Kingdom Hearts at that time. But as with the case with the Kingdom Hearts games before 2, we were greeted with not one but two secret movies within the endings of Kingdom Hearts 2 and its final mix counterpart that gave us a hyped glimpse of the future through the past. This was The Gathering and Birth by Sleep.
Now, of course, back in the day, it was really hard to see these secret movies in terms of the final mix collections. Sure, we saw The Gathering from Kingdom Hearts 2, but when it came to Birth by Sleep for Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix over in areas outside of Japan, we had to use different mediums of acquisition, along with that of a fledgling YouTube. But after I saw those secret movies, both The Gathering and Birth by Sleep, you already know, back in 2005-06, all that good jazz, our memories and theories and minds went amok. I remember the initial theories I had about The Gathering and into Birth by Sleep, and remember how a lot of people were calling it Kingdom Hearts 3, even though, translations said of the past. You have to look to the past. You have to look at the time before that, the memories of Xehanort, the secret reports, all that stuff. But still, something had me going when it comes to the interdimension of time when it comes to the events of Kingdom Hearts 1 into 2 that could lead into 3, but as we all know, it led into Birth by Sleep, which is Kingdom Hearts 0 coined by Nomura. Now, the craziest thing about The Gathering, we're gonna start with that, is seeing these armored Keyblade wielders wielding Keyblades of designs that were way more serious in terms of what we saw with Kingdom Hearts beforehand. Terra's Keyblade looked so cool, along with Ventus's and Aqua's. But before we got to the wild point of the Keyblade graveyard, we saw Terra standing on top what seemed to be the Xemnas dragon from Kingdom Hearts 2. So this guy slayed the dragon that gave us a lot in Kingdom Hearts 2 in terms of Sora Riku using that nobody glider, the organization glider, and then we had to take out parts of it, and then we had to take out Xemnas on top of the dragon's head. But it seemed that this dude, who we didn't know who it was, Batman, was able to take out that dragon like nobody's business. And then we see the three of them converge to the middle of the X of, we'll get to that in a second, literally a second, them picking up the Kingdom Key D, and Way to the Dawn. These Keyblades that we've seen that were very important in Kingdom Hearts 2. Where's Destiny's Embrace? I mean, we saw that was a Keyblade in Kingdom Hearts 2. Kairi got it thanks to, Riku and some handsome Riku. Whatever. As they picked up these Keyblades, we saw them in the middle of all of these Keyblades. This is, of course, before the time of Union Cross, before the time of Dream Drop Distance, before the time of Kingdom Hearts 3, where Keyblades were definitely on the rare side, only belonging to that of the hero, and everyone coveted the Keyblade. Marluxia, Xemnas, the organization, Riku at a time, but now we see that once upon a time, oh baby, Keyblades were everywhere. They were not some sort of rarity, they were more of a commodity. That just spells insane values for me. Right? I can only theorize so much when it comes to seeing Terra, Aqua, and Ventus in The Gathering, but when we got to Birth by Sleep, that was over. It was over. The first thing you notice from this trailer, and this is like the craziest thing about the memories of Kingdom Hearts, the first thing you notice is that you see Old Man Xehanort, right? And obviously white beard, yellow eyes. You think, okay, he's connected to Xehanort, Ansem, Xemnas, whatever, but he's wearing Ansem the Seeker of Darkness's clothes. this has to mean something. What point in time is this taking place? Is this like Ansem who grew up? But I mean, like, we took out Ansem, and Ansem belongs to Riku. Did Riku grow up to become Ansem? Did, we get that stylization in terms of Riku housing Ansem's heart and then growing up to be Ansem himself in an old age? Something way far off. Is this Kingdom Hearts 3 80 years in the future? I don't know. And then Xehanort produces a copy, which turned out to be Vanitas. It was just, like the style of the scene or whatever. But Vanitas, Spider-Man, had a helmet, and I'm like, okay, that looks cool. But then you look at his bodysuit, I'm like, wait a minute, I've seen that somewhere before. That was Dark Riku's bodysuit from Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain Memories, all that good jazz, but in a different color scheme, and I'm like, all right, there's got to be some sort of connection. And then, as case in point, as time went on, when we saw Birth by Sleep and future Kingdom Hearts game, Vanitas kind of fights in the style of Riku. And both of their Keyblades initially, along with Soul Eater, had the Gazing Eye, the Eye of Darkness, the Master of Master's Eye. We still don't know what this spiel with that is. We're going to learn in Kingdom Hearts 4 or Phase 2 in the future. Anyways, I digress. After seeing a wildly dark battle, like this battle was like Final Fantasy battles. Of course, Kingdom Hearts, it had the capacity to be violent up until that point. Kingdom Hearts 1, Chain Memories, and 2. But when we saw this battle in the Keyblade Graveyard, and everything was just so wild. We saw lightning mess up Terra's armor. We saw Aqua get shredded by all these Keyblades. We saw Terra being shredded by the Keyblades as well, even though Aqua tried to protect him. And an explosion from the bubble, from the Reflect, that did not work. And then Xehanort got into the mix, one-handed. Old Man was able to show Terra the business. And then the Dark Blizzaga that was able to freeze the arm. And then enter Ventus. But here's the crazy part about Ventus from back in the day. Nomura actually had to get clarification because I was there during that. You just had to be there during that time when this movie first dropped on the internet, because of course, Final Mix never made it to America or any other region outside of Japan. So we had to see this movie off of YouTube, off the video sharing sites, Newgrounds, whatever you want to call it, right? And then when Xehanort absolutely thrashes Ventus in his armor, breaks his helmet with one hand, come on, like I want what Xehanort's having, carrots? What is that, spinach? What is that, like Brussels sprouts? I need that. He was able to do that and then freeze Ventus in his armor. But of course, we saw Aqua without her armor, without her helmet. And I'm like, okay, we don't know who that is. What blue hair? I'm like, who's that? Who's that? Right? New character. And then we see Ventus fall down, and then his armor shatters, and then Aqua catches him. And then that was the big thing. That was big thing number one that got people wild up. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? What is this game? What's going on? Ventus, before we knew it was Ventus, we thought that was Roxas. And it was like, Roxas in armor with other homies? And then my mind started racing. That's when the theorization really started when it comes to this movie or whatnot. And it was crazy. I was thinking, okay, is this like the blank period? This happened before Roxas joined the organization? Was it during the organization? Was it after he defected from the organization? He rolled up with other Keyblade wielders before Sora was able to wake up? What's going on? Who is this happening to? Was Ansem able to travel through time when he was in the future, back in time, and then he was stopped somehow before the events of Kingdom Hearts 2 1.5? My mind was truly racing. But then of course, as time went on, Nomura was like, okay, I need to tell people what's up. This is not Roxas, this is Ventus. But why does it look like Roxas? Play Birth by Sleep, right? And that was the insane part of that portion of the secret movie. And Roxas, as you guys know or should know, is my favorite character of all time. So when I was seeing that for the first time back in the day, I was like, bro, what is happening? And then we get to the point where Terra, after Xehanort summons Kingdom Hearts, that was also like, oh snap, there's something in Kingdom Hearts and it's blue. Why is it blue? Oh my goodness. And then he's like, oh, let's go up. And then Vanitas was there, and then whatever. Anyways, when we got to the Terra part, he takes off his helmet with the great music, dun 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 dun, and then he takes off his mask, his helmet, whatever. And then you notice something about the shape of his hair. And I'm like, wait a minute. Young Xemnas? Young Xemnas, brown, it didn't go white yet. It was in the same style. And then his eyes were blue, but then his eyes were from blue to yellow. And I'm like, oh, okay, whoa. Right. So I'm telling you, my mind was all over the place. Of course, the line of thought did get to the point. I'm like, okay, maybe this is a prequel in which this old guy who has, Xemnas's, hair color and eye color, and the clothes of Ansem was able to take over this younger dude and become Xemnas or anything like that. But I was like, okay, is this like Xemnas and Roxas's origin story that led to the sadness and madness of the Organization 13 in the future of Kingdom Hearts 2 or whatever, what is going on? And like number 1 and number 13, and like they were homies at one point. They're like the span of a year, but the year can only have so many days. Like how many days in a year, how many years in a day, and it was the loss of Aqua, which we found out when we saw the Japanese version of Final Mix, when Xemnas went down to the armor. It's like, oh, it's been far too long, my friend, and you see Aqua's armor. So wait, that's the armor from the Birth by Sleep movie. So like, did Roxas and young Xemnas get like united or splintered from the collateral loss of their friend, and then they both, as number 13 and number 1, bookending the organization, started the organization so that, something like that would never happen again. But then Xemnas lost his way, but then Roxas stayed on the path of light within the darkness. And I'm like, it's wild. It was Breath of the Wild. Like, my mind was racing. Then, like, as time went on, we saw more and more like trailers or information about Birth by Sleep. And then that one trailer that showed like the beta version of Birth by Sleep, where it showed like Terra having a conversation with Ventus in the Great Maw of Radiant Garden, which never happened in the actual game, where it showed Terra just walking to Ventus and put his hand on his shoulder. And that scene was mirrored in 358 Days, right? Where Xemnas did the same thing to Roxas, the same thing. And I'm like, in hindsight, I probably would have liked Terra a lot more if Nomura decided to keep these, Xemnas, Roxas, Terra, Ventus, mirrored references. But he didn't. And I'm like, why not? Like, literally in 358 Days on the DS, there was a scene where Roxas falls asleep, and then Xemnas in the game said, "So sleep has taken you once again." And that's obviously a reference to like Terra mourning the sleep of Ventus or whatever. But that never made it to the HD movie thing. I don't know why. It was such a beautiful scene. Right? So then as time went on, I'm like, okay, maybe Terra, who went on to become Xemnas, lost both Roxas and blue-haired girl, and he was able to create Sora's nobody in Roxas's or Ventus's image, and that's why Roxas looks like Ventus before the game came out and we found out why. It's just like, it was crazy. I remember when the juices were flowing so hot during that time within the Kingdom Hearts community back like more than 10 years ago. You just had to be there. It was such a wild time, right? And that was before I did YouTube and all that good jazz. If I was doing YouTube back then, that was the theories that were like blam, blam, blam. But I was still in like, school. And then all my homies that were like really into Kingdom Hearts, we were just talking about it. It's like, yo, did you see that? That was amazing, right? And a lot of us thought it was Kingdom Hearts 2. The world did, right? But then found out Birth by Sleep leading into the Kingdom Hearts 2, all that good jazz. But that was just one of the hype memories of Kingdom Hearts that I want to share with you guys. And I want to know what your experience was when you first saw these secret movies back in the day. And did you think it was Kingdom Hearts 3? And what was your theories and thoughts when it came to like Birth by Sleep and all that good jazz? We're going to have more memories going into the hype of Kingdom Hearts' 20th anniversary and the anniversary event. So I hope you guys are down for that, and I hope you had a good time with this video. If you did, be sure to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to HMK for more awesome Kingdom Hearts content and for more Kingdom Hearts memories with HMK. What was your favorite memory? What was a memory that you want me to revisit in my own prowess? Leave it in the comment section below. And once again, share, subscribe, all that good jazz, and check out my Patreon to see how you can support for just $1 a month. All right, guys, until next video, this has been HMK, and I will see you next time on the memories of Kingdom Hearts.
So you haven't subscribed to HMK yet? Don't piss Xemnas off.